Where are the Marshall Thundering Herd opening up the 2025 baseball season? Greg Beals is locked on Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. We continue our 2025 Sunbelt baseball preview with the head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd, Greg Beals. The Thundering Herd opening up the season in, wait for it, Hawaii. That must be nice, as it is a little chilly here in, I guess, technically the Midwest is Kentucky. And then Huntington, not too far away from here, and the Mid-Atlantic as well. Chilly with some snow. But we talk about the kind of the Hollywood Disney ending, or the beginning of Marshall opening up their new ballpark, what it is like to play baseball in the North his whole career, from Ball State to Ohio State to now Marshall has been in the North, and what's that like, trying to compete with teams that, you know, get to play in the South where it's a little bit warmer weather, and prepare where the elements may be easier to deal with. And then, you know, how to compete better in the Sun Belt and what they're improving on in 2025. He is Greg Beals. He is the head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd, and he is Locked On Sun Belt. Dave Schultz, Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day. We're continuing to preview the 2025 Sun Belt baseball season. We are joined by the head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd. He is Greg Beals, entering his third season as the head coach of the Herd. He comes over from Ohio State, a quick pit stop in Akron. Got to ask you, Coach, what interested you in joining the Herd back in 2023?
Well, the very first thing that caught my eye was building a brand new stadium, and at this point in my career, to have the opportunity to have my hands in every facet, basically, of building a brand new stadium. And we did that. But as I got to interview here and I got to meet the people, this place is special. It really is. I know you hear that from a lot of coaches, but our president, Brad Smith, I interviewed with him, and is just a high-end thinker, and has our university and growing, which a lot of universities are struggling right now. We're growing, and his leadership is a major part of that. Our athletic director, Christian Spears, has got serious energy and serious vision for our athletic department. So the people that I met in the interview process really sold me. I was, baseball gets you started on the thing. Building a new stadium got me started. The Sun Belt Conference, which we all know is top shelf in college baseball, that got me going. But the people here in Huntington, especially our leadership, was to sell the deal.
And you wrote the script to the storybook ending of the home opener? Is that the stadium opener? Is that what happened?
I mean, you can't draw it up. If you just tell the story, somebody'd say, no way, it didn't happen.
Well, for those who don't know, because I was watching, tell people what happened.
Yeah. So, opening day, it was just a great event. A ballpark has been in the works for 50 years here in Huntington for Marshall University to own their own ballpark. And finally, we were able to do that last year. We opened up March 1st, had a great crowd. We go out 3 up, 3 down in the top of the first inning. Our leadoff hitter comes up, Trey Hondras, hits the first pitch over the left field wall. And the place just went crazy. And like I said, you're probably like, really? You're probably going to fact check me. Everybody that's listening is like, that didn't really happen, did it? But literally, our ballpark is named Jack Cook Field. And Coach Cook was here for a long time and had left a legacy, and just how he treated his student athletes and the love that he had for the game in Marshall University. And there's a lot of us that believe that Coach Cook grabbed that ball and threw it over the fence for us. And but it was a spectacular moment.
We're talking to Greg Beals, head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd. All right, somebody who grew up in the North, did not really have a whole lot of contact with college baseball. In fact, the spring sport was lacrosse. I used to refer to the Final Four as the Syracuse Invitational because up until recently, they really went to they were kind of the LSU of lacrosse for a long time. So was not really into college baseball. So tell us what it's like. It's not quite north of the Mason-Dixon line, but it's really close. What's it like, playing in cold weather for, the good part of the first month and a half? It can get cold, doesn't get, we'll put it the other way. It doesn't get warm until, at least a month or two into the season.
Well, it presents a challenge, but the challenge is in the preparation. Once you get the season time, once we get to Friday, everybody's on the same playing field at the same time. We're the northernmost school in our conference. My greatest concern is being able to prepare preseason at the level that our peers are that are in the South, and that's our biggest challenge is
Right.
to get the equal work in. So you got to get creative. Here at the new ballpark, we got indoor. We got 3 indoor batting cages, an indoor bullpen. Our football program has an indoor, field house, so we're able to get some use indoor when necessary. But we also go outside when it's pretty cold at times to get that work in on the field. So, I've been coaching in this region my entire career. Had to prepare teams indoors. There's been seasons where the first time outside was when we went on game. We went game day. So, no stranger to that. There's no excuses. On Friday, we're going to be in Hawaii. They haven't been dealing with snow out there, so their prep has been smooth. Our prep has been strong. It's been a challenge weather-wise at times, but we're awfully excited and ready to go.
How does one schedule Hawaii for their season opener?
Well, Coach Hill's been around the block a few times like myself, so we're just colleagues, and they had an opening. We reached out, and we were able to work it out, and I think it's a cool opportunity. I've never been to Hawaii. It's a cool opportunity for a coach, certainly a cool opportunity for our student athletes. We're going to do some things around the trip as well. We're going to take the team to Pearl Harbor for that experience, and we're going to do a luau type dinner for that experience just to get some of the culture of Hawaii.
Does something like that have to get approved? I mean, obviously, there's a little bit more cost than that than, going to West Virginia.
Yeah. No, it certainly has to get approved. Right. We've been really fortunate here. We've got great support, and there's been a lot of people in our community get behind me and this baseball program as we're trying to build it.
Yeah, talking to Greg Beals, head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd. I remember when they would tell the guys, when they would break camp coming to Peoria, Illinois, when it was cold in April, they said, "Hey guys, the Cardinals, they play the Mets. You know where it's cold in April? New York. Get used to it."
No doubt. And it's part of my recruiting spiel. You watch the World Series, there's going to be some games played in the North in October and November. And you want to play in those big games, you got to be able to do it.
Yeah, it's cold. All right, let's talk about Marshall baseball. Tell us about this program. I be honest with you, don't know a whole lot about it. I seem to remember the Cajuns not playing well there a couple of years ago, kind of fell on their faces. Tell us about this Marshall baseball program. Like you said, they finally have a home, so that is out of the way.
Yeah, and what that means to us, it's obviously it's our game field, but it's also where we're able to practice. We're now able to practice on campus. We have 3 batting cages, a full turf field. So from a preparation standpoint, it has been a game changer for our program. From a recruiting standpoint to a preparation standpoint, it's just really been a game changer for us. I feel like this is really the first year that I'm going to really be able to put a mark on this program. We brought 24 new players in, and in this transition phase, I protected a lot of guys that were in this program that were close to graduation. We had 17 guys graduate last year and get Marshall degrees. We stuck with those guys. And it also bought us the opportunity to have a large class coming in. So we've got some portal guys, we've got some junior college guys, and we got a strong mix of freshmen as well. I do believe in building the program with a player development mindset, and high school players is where that really takes place. And that player development, when you have them for multiple years, obviously you can't ignore the transfer portal and what possibilities it brings to us. So we got a good mix in this ball club, and I'm excited about where we're at. We really improved the depth of our pitching staff. That was the number one thing that I felt needed to happen, is just the depth of our pitching staff. We have Bryce Blevins returning, who was first team all conference left-handed pitcher for us, and Bryce is a great competitor, but we can't go 7, 8, 9 innings all the time. We need to have some depth especially in the back end of that bullpen, and we feel like we've done that.
Let's take a time out. We'll come back. We'll continue our conversation with Greg Beals. He'll talk about adding depth to the Marshall Thundering Herd pitching staff, as well as how he goes about using analytics in 2025. We'll do that right after I tell you about FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you missed the opening tip-off or want to bet on the fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into same-game parlays. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Let's continue our conversation with the head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd. Greg Beals talks about getting more pitching depth for his Thundering Herd, as well as how he uses analytics in 2025. What was the biggest difference you saw from coming from a place like Ohio State in the Big Ten to the G5? So I've said this to other coaches, when I went to the College Station Regional, just those guys, just the meeting on the mound. I'm not even talking about in the batter's box. Just the meeting on the mound between the infielders and the pitchers. They're just so much bigger than the Cajuns, right? The Cajuns have a little bit of size, but the middle relievers coming out of the bullpen are all 6'5", 240. That was the biggest difference that I saw, and that they're all those guys, right? Cajuns may have some guys who can throw, but they seem to all be 6'1", $180.
Yeah, well, here's what I do, and Matt does a great job, and
he does do a good job.
I believe our conference, the Sun Belt Conference, I believe it to be really strong. I believe it to be a tougher baseball conference than the Big Ten. There's some high-end talent. Now the Big Ten's changing with the West Coast teams coming in,
right?
But even the RPI statistics say that the Sun Belt in the last couple of years is better than the Big Ten. So.
That's right.
We just play a really good, clean brand of baseball. I do believe that the Big Ten, there's some upper end talent, especially on the pitching side, that Power 5 schools and the sexy names are going to win out in the recruiting process over us in the Sun Belt. But top to bottom, pitching staff, top to bottom lineup, the style of baseball, the cleanliness of our game. I love our conference. I've got a ton of respect for my colleagues and the coaches in this conference. Do a great job, and it's fun every weekend.
I'm talking to Greg Beals, head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. What did you learn about the Sunbelt when you first got here? What sort of surprised you?
There's a lot of guys like myself, the coaches in here, and I get along with all of them, and just good baseball guys, and there's not a lot of smoke and mirrors and rocket science going on in our conference. It's just good old fashioned baseball. And I love it. My first year in the conference, we got whooped around, and, the record doesn't look like a big difference from last year, but we played a lot of tough games last year. We were in games. We got to find a way to win games. I feel like we're making a move in that. I know we were picked 12th in the preseason. There's nobody in this facility that really cares about that. We have our own level of expectation and what we're going to go out and do this year. And our main goal is, and my goal is that I have Marshall University playing in Montgomery, Alabama at the end of the season in this conference tournament.
Yeah, I've told the other coaches this. The poll is picked by the coaches, and I don't think you guys know your own teams yet. Meanwhile, somebody else's team. And the great
Right.
example of that is Matt Daggs had his Friday night starter end up being the closer and was the closer of the year last year. So
Right.
you guys don't even know your teams yet. Meanwhile, somebody else's team. So take the polls with a grain of salt. Big time.
We make a living with 19 and 22-year-olds. Things are going to change at some point.
Very much so. Very much so. He's Greg Beals, head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd. All right, so you're saying you're old school baseball coaches. How have you embraced or not embraced? I'm sure there's got to be some embracing of analytics in baseball.
Yeah, it's a great question, Dave, and you have to embrace it. Something I talk to all the coaches about, and guys older than me, guys younger than me, change is going to happen. Change is inevitable. It's going to happen. And if you don't get in on board on it, then you're going to get run out of the game at some point. You can say you don't like NIL. You can say you don't like the transfer portal. You can say you don't like analytics. Your time is running out if you're going to stay there.
Right.
So you've got to figure out where you're going to land on all this stuff. Man, I'm the son of an accountant. I love numbers. So I like the analytics stuff. My big thing is that I don't want it to dominate. I don't want it to lead us. I want it to complement us. And I want to be able to take these numbers. I think from a coaching standpoint, we all need to be very well aware and very versed on it. Then we got to figure out how we're going to deliver it to our players in a workable, manageable standpoint that they can grasp and they can become better players in, and not chase a number, but use those numbers to help define who they are and how they're going to get better.
So I'll give you a situation. So this is sometimes happening in big league ball, more so now than it did, or at least, when you and I were growing up, right? Like when you and I were growing up, the game was determined in the 8th or 9th inning, right? Now we feel, or not we, but people think that the game can be determined in the 7th inning. So now maybe the closer comes in the 7th. Now we're going to bring in our guy early on and change the way. So do we have the analytics kind of, manage the way we're going to do it between a certain amount and then kind of go with our gut at the end? Or how do we use those analytics kind of to guide us? And then, you know what, this guy's due. I'm going to go with him this time.
Yeah, I think it definitely is a combination of, first of all, whether it's the 7th inning, the 5th inning, the 8th inning, and 9th inning, I don't necessarily believe in the closer. I believe in the stopper, and in that stopper, that leverage opportunity can be in the 7th inning. You got two guys on the top of the order coming up. These are the 2 outs we need to get.
That's right. Yep.
These are the 2 outs we need to get right here. So I think it's more about the leverage than the inning. But relative to what you're saying, man, we see numbers. I see analytics, whether a sacrifice bunt, and, the sabermetrics say a sacrifice bunt from first is not productive. A sacrifice bunt from first to second gets you 1, but maybe not 2. And starting pitchers really struggle the 3rd time through the lineup. All this stuff that's out there that I think it's very important to be aware of. And then I think you need to know your personnel. Otherwise, we can just play a video game,
Right.
Matt Daggs and I probably have a whole lot of fun playing a video game, or you know what I mean? But I don't want to play a video game. I want to beat the numbers. I want to know the numbers, and I want to know my personnel and find a way to beat the numbers.
So I've had that discussion with others, because you can manage a certain way on a Friday when maybe 1 run is going to be the difference. It's going to be a 3-2 ball game because who's pitching. And on a Sunday, we don't have the Friday night guys. So that may be a 9-8 ball game. So we're not playing for the bunt. We're playing for the 3-run inning.
Well, you look at it, and here's what we really need to do. And the majority of the numbers that we grab are from Major League Baseball, just because the data point is so much bigger with Major League Baseball. Right. We're able to get some data from Division I, from college baseball. I like the bigger number that Major League Baseball provides for you, the bigger sample size. The thing for me is you watch the playoffs in Major League Baseball, and they manage differently than they do in
Well,
game
right.
100 of the regular season. So
Absolutely.
all those numbers,
Well,
they don't play by those numbers exactly during
no.
during the postseason. So
Right.
the numbers guy I want to see those postseason numbers. I want to see how they manage and how they pull triggers in those postseason games. And they're quick on the trigger. I see that.
Well, that's the thing, because Moneyball is going to work over 162 ball games. It ain't
Right.
going to work over 7. That's the
Right.
problem.
100%.
Because I mean, you know that you can go into a week-long slump, and that's nothing, right?
And yeah.
And so
In college
Ohtani can
baseball,
be,
you go through a week-long slump and you're 1/10 of the season done. Yeah.
yeah. So that's nothing. And then
No.
Ohtani can have a bad weekend, but if he has a bad weekend in the playoffs, that's not great.
Right. Right.
So that's yes. So Moneyball, that's why the A's never won with Moneyball, because it works over 162 ball games. It doesn't work over short series. That's the problem with analytics per se.
Yeah.
At least my theory. I don't know how true that is, but
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you.
Per se. That's that. At least that's my theory. All right, let's take one more time out. We'll come back. We'll wrap up our conversation with Thundering Herd head coach Greg Beals. He'll talk about who he's counting on in 2025 to try and crack that top of the Sun Belt and try to get that at-large berth, if not win the regular season or even conference tournament to get that automatic berth. We'll do that right after this. All right, we're continuing with these previews. We should have, today being Thursday, we should have 8 all done recorded. Hopefully we'll get some more. Don't have a day off, oddly enough, for another week. Oh, that's okay. Can record these at night, but obviously now I got to contend with games. But that's okay. We'll see if we can get some more guys in. Do appreciate everybody who has taken their time to record. And obviously the games will have started, so some of the information will not be up to date. It is what it is. We'll try to do basketball for tomorrow, the big ball game. I didn't think there was great matchups last night. We got a big one tonight, South Alabama and Marshall, so maybe we'll concentrate on basketball for this and then get back to preview baseball. We do have Saturday and Sunday. We can do extra episodes over the weekend. So appreciate it. Please continue to comment, and I will answer them. I'm told that's how we get more people to grow the podcast. So appreciate that. Thank you so much. What are we up to? 1,866, I think I saw the other day. Really do appreciate everybody's support. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Let's wrap up our conversation with the head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd, Greg Beals. He tells us what players he's counting on for the Herd to compete in the Sun Belt in 2025. Right there. We're talking to Greg Beals, head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd. Lockdown Sunbelt, your team every day. We're talking Sunbelt Baseball 2025. Tell us about the Thundering Herd. What are you looking to improve on? You said you increased pitching depth. What are we looking at Friday and Saturday nights?
Yeah, Bryce Blevins will go out on Friday night.
Sure.
Returning, junior now. And then we got Phoenix DeGiacomo, got him out of the transfer portal. A big physical right-hander will be our number 2 guy. We're still competing for that 3rd spot. Griffin Miller, who is a sophomore now and is a freshman last year, got himself into the rotation towards the end of the year. We got a very talented freshman in Kenyon Collins, who is bursting onto the scene here, and he may be pushing for that rotation spot as well. Nick Wyrick, the sidewinder, was at the back end of our bullpen last year, is back, and he's complemented by Tim Baird, who we got out of the transfer portal as well from Ohio State. Tim and I go way back, so I'm excited to have him healthy and in the back end of our bullpen here at Marshall with me again. So I like that. I like how our pitching staff blends and matches up with each other. We got the ability to sink the ball. We got the ability to hit with breaking balls. We got to not, kind of like you were saying, we're not going to be the most physically imposing pitching staff jumping up on the mound, but we have guys that know how to pitch and know how to execute and find ways to get outs and put zeros on the board. The other thing that was really important to me from the offensive standpoint is we needed to bring some dynamic to our offense. And what I mean by that is a little bit of power, a little bit of base running. It's really hard to sit back and get 3 singles and score runs at this level of baseball. So somebody's got to do something a little bit more dynamic. We got to steal a bag. We got to hit an extra base hit. We got to do some things to have a little more consistency in our offense. And I feel like we've done that. We got Nolan Wilson will be our catcher. He's replacing Owen Ayers, who was a big-time player for us last year and was drafted. Nolan will hit in the middle of our lineup and do our catching duties. We got Micah New, another transfer portal guy, to come in and play the shortstop position. A really talented young man. He's got all the tools to play this game for a long time. Eli Vogelsong hit 9 home runs for us last year, returns as a senior this year. Kind of our flagship guy. He's really been strong for our culture and what we've developed over the time together here. He's been here the whole time I've been here, and love that young man and what he's done to help me and help move this program forward from the transition. Eli, is back and play left field. Cam Harthen had a breakout year last year as a sophomore, started in center field, hit 320 something. Yeah, he'll be our leadoff man, our center fielder again. We got Jackson Halter, Jackson Halter is going to be our right fielder. Jax was with the Cajuns last year out of Seminole State Junior College, and I liked him out of the junior college. Wasn't cracking a lineup there, jumps in the portal, and he's going to get a shot to play baseball here at Marshall. So Matt and I talked a lot about that in the process, and we're all happy for Jackson that he's got this opportunity to compete. So that kind of rounds up our outfield. We've got a first baseman and AJ Havrilla, who got a lot of at-bats last year as a freshman, got his feet wet, has really grown up physically and the quality of his at-bat. So AJ will play first base and hit in the middle of the lineup as well. So, I think I feel good about our lineup. I think we've definitely are improved. I think we're going to make a move in this conference. It's a tough conference to make a move in, but I think we're going to make a move in. And, I thought we competed well last year. We're going to compete well again, and we're going to win a few more ball games, I believe.
I like the word you use, dynamic. I'm a big believer of putting pressure on the defense. Is that going to work every time? But I am surprised how often outfielders, or maybe the catcher, is surprised how often the guys take extra bases, and sometimes that turns into errors. But you can go from first to third, maybe first to home, steal a base. They're not prepared for it, and the defense doesn't make a good throw. And sometimes you're out. You're right. Sometimes they make a good play, and you tip the cap. Right? They're trying to. Right. So that's not always going to work. And they're like, well, you shouldn't have sent him. He was out. Yeah, but he was out by did you see the throw they made? Not only did they make one good throw, they made 2 good throws, and both throws were on the money, and they still made a perfect throw right in front of the plate. So, if that throw is to the other side of the plate, he's safe. So I'm a big believer of putting pressure on the defense to make them make a play.
Right. And we have a system in place. We do a lot of base running. Offense is so often looked at from a hitting standpoint. Your base running is a big part of your offense.
It is.
And it has to be.
Takes advantage of that in a big way.
Yeah, no doubt. And we have to be strong in that area as well. We have grown a lot. As your culture grows, the things you believe in start showing up in your ball club. Our culture, more than anything, the culture at Marshall University, our baseball program, with this facility and with what's going on, our culture has grown. And so I think a lot of the things that I believe in and that we're working on are going to show up more consistently.
All right, a few more things from Greg Beals, head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd. How do you improve on Bryce Blevins? Because he had a great season. The one stat, and again, just me, obviously a few too many unearned runs. So that's not him. That's the defense.
Yeah. That's my job. That's my job. How do we improve on Bryce Blevins? I got to do my job better. And we got to make sure that we got supporting cast around him. And defense is always an emphasis. You know that. You don't coach baseball as long as we all do and at the level that we do, and there not being an emphasis on defense. And like I said, our culture is growing. So the emphasis on that. So the execution is going to grow as well. That's the thing. Bryce is just, and we got to have depth around him. So maybe he doesn't have to go the 8th inning. Maybe we can be up 5 runs and we can get off of him so that he's going to be fresh and hot again next week. And, he's a competitive son of a gun. He does not want to come.
Right? That's the thing. He's pitching to contact. So you got to play defense.
He does not want to come out of games. So we got to play better defense. We got to score more runs so we can protect him a little more.
Right. All right. He is Greg Beals. Do you still get nervous? You've been doing this a long time. You still get excited and nervous before opening day?
I'm not necessarily nervous. I'm more nervous like now as we get into the last week. Have we got everything? Are the cuts and relays good? Is the bunt play, are we good? Are we good? Are we good? And we are. You over worry about making sure the preparation's right. I don't get nervous. I definitely get excited. No doubt about that. Yeah. And, I think when you're done getting excited, when this first day of practice, I was fired up. When the sun's shining outside and we're going to practice outside and get a scrimmage going, I'm excited for that. And, I want my passion for this game and my energy to be felt by the guys in our program. And, you've heard me use the word culture. Well, it starts right here. And so I got to make sure I'm carrying that torch so that if that's going to burn in our guys, it's got to be here first.
You're going a long way. Any chance to get 9 holes in Kapalua?
Man, I wish I was invited to bring my clubs, but we're on a business trip and I love to play golf, but I probably won't get out there until June.
Well, I need to go out there and recruit a day or two early and, ask it that way.
We're excited. We're looking forward to it. Everybody tells us what a long flight it is, but 19 to 22-year-olds, like I said, I think they'll bounce back and be ready to answer the bell Friday night.
I appreciate it, Coach. He is Coach Greg Beals, head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd. You got to download The Night Agent and The Recruit if you need something to watch on Netflix get over there. I'm through those. I think one is 2. I think they're both 2 seasons long, so I'm through both of those.
My daughter's mentioned Night Agent, so maybe I got to do that. I got to follow suit.
Yeah. Both those series are really good. Really appreciate your time, Coach. Hope to catch up during the season, and best of luck this year. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Coach.